Olá, meu nome é Gilberto Sudré e estamos no programa Vida Digital. No programa de hoje vamos conversar sobre boas maneiras no uso de celulares. Também vamos assistir duas entrevistas especiais. O primeiro entrevistado é uma das referências do software livre mundial, Maddog. Também vamos conhecer um pouco mais sobre a solução de nuvem em software livre, o OpenStack, com um de seus desenvolvedores, o Alan Clark. Envie sua pergunta ou sugestão para o e-mail vidadigital@espiritolivre.tv. Assista a esse e a outros episódios no site tv.espiritolivre.org/vida digital. Vamos começar o programa de hoje conhecendo as boas práticas no uso dos dispositivos móveis. Não temos mais como fugir. Os celulares e smartphones estão em todos os lugares. Mesmo sendo ferramentas importantes para a vida moderna, eles não podem acabar com a nossa civilidade. Ou seja, celulares e boas maneiras não precisam ser inimigos. É certo que as redes sociais e os smartphones geram uma atração quase incontrolável para muitas pessoas. Mas ao andar por aí, não fique distraído, principalmente com o celular ou tablet na mão. Isso vai evitar encontrões, quedas e até atropelamentos. Se for anotar ou consultar alguma informação no seu dispositivo móvel, pare em um espaço seguro e que não atrapalhe os outros. Se você acha que suas músicas preferidas irão agradar a todos, pode ter certeza que nem todos têm essa opinião. Seja uma boa pessoa e use fones de ouvido. Isso vai evitar incomodar quem estiver à sua volta, como também vai melhorar a qualidade do som. Em geral, os alto-falantes dos smartphones e tablets são de baixa qualidade. Poupe seus companheiros da obrigação de ouvir sua conversa ao telefone, principalmente se o local for barulhento e seja necessário gritar. Assim, só utilize o viva voz quando estiver sozinho. Tirar fotos é uma prática bem legal, mas o tablet com tela de 10 polegadas está longe de ser ou ter o mesmo tamanho de uma câmera compacta. Desta forma, cuidado ao levantar o tablet para fotografar e atrapalhar quem também está tentando registrar a paisagem. Usar o celular enquanto se está sentado na plateia de cinema ou teatro é uma distração e um incômodo para as pessoas que estão ao seu redor. E não estou me referindo a falar ao celular. O simples ato de usar o aparelho já atrapalha muito com a luz da tela. Ou seja, celular no cinema ou teatro, nem pensar. Nessas ocasiões, o lugar do aparelho é no bolso ou na bolsa em modo avião. Quando em família, aproveite os momentos e deixe a tecnologia de lado. Aos pais fica a responsabilidade de ensinar as crianças sobre as regras para o comportamento adequado no uso dos smartphones. Agora, uma situação complicada acontece no restaurante. Evite de colocar o telefone em cima da mesa e, caso for absolutamente necessário, deixá-lo sobre a mesa, vire a tela para baixo. Não use o smartphone enquanto fala com o garçom ou se houver outras pessoas na mesa. Na hora de pagar a conta, pare o que estiver fazendo no seu smartphone e atenda ao funcionário. Além de ser uma questão de respeito ao outro ser humano, isso também ajuda a reduzir o tempo de atendimento e fará a fila andar mais rápido. Com essas dicas simples, vamos evitar que a tecnologia se torne um problema para o nosso dia a dia. Acompanhe agora o bate-papo com Maddog.
John, good night. It's a pleasure to meet you. Okay, and tell us about the project, Kawan project.
The Kawa project is a project whose primary goal is to create millions of new high-tech jobs in Brazil and throughout the rest of Latin America. We believe that in the end we would be able to create between 1 to 2 million new high-tech jobs in Brazil and another 3 to 4 million in the rest of Latin America. We also have goals of reducing the amount of electricity used, of making computers easier to use, of allowing people to have a wireless bubble over large urban areas that is free, and also to provide supercomputing power at low cost or gratis. And to do all of this as a privately funded, capitalistic method of doing this. So we need little or no government funding.
Oh, very interesting. And why Brazil is a good place to apply the Kawan project?
One thing is that Brazil shares a similarity with a lot of Latin American countries. About 83 to 84% of the people live in an urban environment, not in a rural environment. Even though a lot of people think of Brazil, they think of the Brazilian rainforest, they think of, the Amazon jungle and stuff, but most of the people in Brazil lives in a city. And they live in a highly dense city. Tall apartment houses, tall condominiums, tall office buildings that have 30 or 40 small companies in them. And all of these could use Project Kawa services to reduce the amount of electricity they use, both in running the computers and in the air conditioning. So Brazil is a country that runs north to south. It straddles the equator. You have a lot of people living in very hot places, and you use air conditioning. We can cut down the amount of electricity used for that air conditioning by reducing the amount of electrical power that the computer itself uses. And the other thing is the economics of the systems administration job. In Brazil, typically $1,000 a month is a beginning salary, $2,000 a month is a good salary. We could actually start Project Kawa entrepreneurs at $2,000 a month and have it go up from there. In the United States, $2,000 a month does not get you a very good systems administrator. So we think that Brazil is economically and sociologically ready for Project Kawa.
Very, very good. And how can I and our viewers participate in Kawan project?
Well, the first thing you could do is go to the website and log in and understand what the project is about. And you have to make a decision whether you want to put the time and effort into doing Project Kawa or whether you want to do something else. But if you do, then you study a little bit of systems administration. Maybe you buy one of the first Project Kawa kits, and by registering at our site, you do get a discount on the kit. And then you join in with the forums to tell people what additional things you would like to see in the product and what problems you had with it, things like that. We will be doing this for about a month, and then we're going to choose people from all the activities to be in a pilot of actually selling these to other people. So at that point, these people we select will go out and act as salespeople, selling it to door-to-door, selling it to their friends, their neighbors, their relatives. If they live in an apartment house, to the people in the apartment house. Many different ways of selling it. And then, you know, if they can sell enough systems to sustain themselves, we will know we will be successful. After a while, they'll reach a saturation point that they'll say, I have 300 customers, they all have my Project Kawa system. At that point, their sales will turn to sales of new things to their customer base and new services. So we want people to be able to generate this living about having like 300 to 400 customers that they take care of, they form a relationship with, and those customers think of them as their computer person.
Okay, well, and what do you think about the adoption of free software by companies and users?
I think it's the thing that companies should do. I think that companies need to have their software work in a way, and they need to have control over their software. So a lot of times people have problems with the word freedom. They don't really understand what freedom means. So I talk about software slavery. Software slavery is when you're told when to upgrade your system, you're told when you're going to get the patch, you're told how many people can use it, on what type of computer system, and you have lost control of your software. So software freedom gives you back the control, because when you're a slave, you have no control over your own life. When you're free, you are the person who is in control. And so for a business person, they understand control very well.
Okay, and do you think that GNU Linux is ready to replace another operational system in desktops?
I think there's a lot of people that use GNU Linux on the desktop, and they use it perfectly fine. I think that there's if they learn enough about how to use it, that they can overcome some of the so-called obstacles that they have. A lot of these obstacles are caused by different types of fonts in Microsoft Office. And if you use one type of font all the time, then you're more likely to be able to use Microsoft Office well.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time and great success for the Kawan project. Yeah,
Hold up. This is a Project Kawa system. It's actually a Raspberry Pi in a Visa mount, and this is the part that will be loading in the Project Kawa software that we will be that will give the media center and the desktop and the other facilities I was talking about earlier. Okay.
Very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Voltamos daqui a pouquinho com mais algumas entrevistas na TV Espírito Livre. Olá, estamos aqui com Alan, desenvolvedor do OpenStack. Alan, in a few words, what is the OpenStack project?
So the OpenStack project is an open source cloud project. We're focused on both private, hybrid, and public clouds. We're trying to make cloud ubiquitous.
Oh, okay. And why the choice to be free project, free software?
It is an open source project. In fact, our tenets of the project are open source, open community, and open and transparent development. So we think those project principles distinguish us from other open source cloud projects.
Okay, interesting. And what is the advantage of OpenStack project in the other projects?
So the nice thing about open source is we can learn from each other. But the advantages that OpenStack has is the focus it has on business and on cloud use. We have over 190 members now of different businesses from around the world. So it is very much a worldwide project. And so our focus again is on making cloud useful for businesses, organizations, government, universities, research around the world, and that differentiates us from other projects.
Fantastic, fantastic. And how the domestic user can use the project? He can use the project?
Sure. It's open source. It's available for everybody and anybody to use. And you just go to openstack.org and there's instructions there on, as a user, how to download and use it. There's documentation to show how others are using it, and just quick start guides on how to get involved in the community.
Interesting, yeah. And the cloud, is safe to put our information there?
There's been a lot of conversation about that, hasn't there? Of course, security is always a concern when you're talking out in the public, and that's why you'll see private clouds, hybrid clouds, and public clouds, because OpenStack is safe, right? It's open source, it gets vetted, the code gets reviewed by everybody in the world. So the question always comes about data, and that's why I believe that there will always be private clouds as well as public clouds, because there are businesses that will not put their information in the public. They can't, right? Government regulations and so forth just dictate that they can't do that. But it doesn't mean that they can't use open source software, because open source software is safe to use. It's just a question of where do you want to put your data.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Alan, for your attention here, and thank you very much, and success with the project of OpenStack.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Bom, o programa Vida Digital fica por aqui. Para rever esse e outros programas, acesse o site tv.espiritolivre.org/vida digital. Você também pode acompanhar e rever minhas publicações através do site gilberto.sudré.com.br ou através do Twitter, no endereço twitter.com/gilbertosudré. Participe do programa, envie suas dúvidas ou sugestão para o e-mail vidadigital@espiritolivre.tv. E até o próximo Vida Digital.